I call you back. Oh.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Thinking Tackle. As you can see, I'm flanked by quite a well-known character, not famed for his angling, but he's very good at that part of it. It's David Seaman, Mr. Safe Hands himself. We are at the Blue Pool and Gold Lake complex in the Burfield area, and what a magnificent fishery it is. I got down here yesterday evening, caught a few off the top. David's joined me this morning. We're actually on the Blue Pool now. And we've dropped a rig in the edge, a little bit of bait, somewhere we've been priming for probably the last 24 hours, if I'm honest, putting a little bit of bait in. And couldn't have been in the water 5 minutes, David, eh?
No, it's trying to get in that tree and it's out again.
We just checked it a few minutes ago and there wasn't actually any fish on the spot. We're all set back quite a way away from the water and came back. Literally just sat down, and the next thing, you were talking to your good lady, weren't you, on the phone, mate?
I'll quickly put it down, I'll call you back.
So really, really great start. Couldn't have wished for better. And like I say, the Gold Lake is somewhere that we're going to fish as well. Had a great evening on there, but this show's going to be all about sort of getting into little poke holes, trying to catch them off the top, maybe a bit of fishing on zigs. You know, we're not going to sit on the buzzers until the night time. We're going to really enjoy ourselves, make the most of this wonderful weather, and
I think it's ready, mate.
It's really ready. Look at that. That nailed it, didn't it, that rig, mate? And we'll show you the rigs and everything else. It's the ugliest carp in the lakes, but we've got it.
I love that.
What a start. Get in there.
Nice one, pal.
Well, David, quite ironic that you were to catch your first carp out of the Blue Pool in front of a swim that actually has a set of goalposts behind it. And,
exactly.
And I assure you we didn't put them up before the show. Yeah. But what a great start. You know, you've been on a bit of a carp fishing sabbatical, haven't you, the last few years?
I've done hardly any. You know, I've been on the rivers so long, but it's just great to come back and get the rods out, but like no bite indicators or anything. Just put the rod on the ground, pebble on the spool, and off it went.
Yeah, exactly. And these are the type of waters it's lovely to come back to. Gin clear, carp under your feet.
You can see them as well, and his A's just seeing them like, mopping the baits up and that, but then you put your rig in and then it's like, right, let's wait for about 3 hours or so. But this was about, what, half an hour?
Yeah, it took us all by surprise, to be honest. Well, there's carp all around this venue at the moment and on the Gold Lake, so we're going to go and have another little look around the venue, try to find another pocket of fish and hopefully put a few more on the bank for you. Right, just before we put the rig back into a different spot, I was going to chat to you a little bit about the rig we're using, because Blue Pool compared to the Gold Lake are two different worlds. Blue Pool, it's been pressured for years, these carp have seen it all, to be fair. Gold Lake, they've not seen anything, it's fresh stock, so they're pretty much lambs to the slaughter, to be honest.
Hopefully.
Yeah, well, they were, because I caught some yesterday evening. But you were quite intrigued with this rig, weren't you?
I was, yeah. I was really intrigued with the size of the hook.
Yeah.
Because normally you think like, oh, hide the hook, small hook, big baits or medium baits, but like, what is it, size 4 or 5? Or?
Yeah, this is right, well, I'll talk you through it, because, I mean, firstly, we'll go from the hook end, because this is actually a rig that's been born from the underwater filming we've done,
Right.
Pressured day ticket carp, they've seen it all, and the most consistent rig in that sort of work that we've done was just an IQ fluorocarbon straight through,
right.
And then on that occasion Danny was actually using a D rig, so I've modified it a little bit to my own version. So it's actually a size 4 curve, which is a big old hook, big old bit of meat, but I've put a little micro ring swivel onto the shank and then a hook bead rather than the sort of hassle of tying the D.
Right.
I found it really easy to do that, and I believe it works in the same way, because you've got that ring. If I hold it there, that ring moves up and down and spins, and as soon as that lifts off the deck, that hook's trying to fall over. And obviously with the larger curve shank, you've just got a bit more gape, so there's actually more metal to catch them. And the point is, on the deck, if I'll get you to hold the lead there, David. Right, on the deck, it sits like that,
so
almost.
Just the bait will camouflage it a little bit. And
yeah, it's covering the bait. And the other wonderful thing about it, because it's fluorocarbon straight through, it basically, every time, if a fish does suck it up, because you've got to accept that fish do suck your bait up
and blow it back out.
But what you don't want is a braided hook link that gets sucked up and then just falls back like that or snarls up. At least with this anti-tangle sleeve and the IQ, every time it goes up, bang, it comes back out. And this is obviously a critically balanced hook bait. You've got a bit of a pop up on the top and a bottom bait there, and it always kicks back out.
And what sort of poundage is this?
This is 15 pounds.
Right.
You can use even 20 pounds sometimes, you know, but I think that's a nice, you can see that, can't you? It's a nice bit of rigidity, you know, not too much and not too little, but combined with the balanced hook bait, it'll always kick back out. And you know, you saw with the hook holder that last fish.
It was well in there, wasn't it?
And the thing that impressed me, not only about the actual hook link and everything, these type of fish, it's important to get the lead system right, okay? Because I've seen them with lead clips, for example. That pivot of the lead is just enough time for them to actually get rid of everything. But what you've probably found there with that fish is, look, if I open that up, we've just got a swivel on there, anti-tangle sleeve is on one end, and I've just pushed the tail rubber onto this end, and we've taken the insert out of the inline lead, and that quite simply just squeezes on there. But it's not on too hard, it's actually quite soft, but it's enough. If I hold this end, so a fish picks it up, feels a bit of resistance, and then bang, and then that's going to slide away, and they don't know what's hit them. And that's it. So really, really simple rig, but the proof was in the pudding there. It was a very quick bite, and we actually didn't see any fish on the spot. So clearly the first one's come in. It's gone for that almond hook bait. Yeah. It's got nailed.
Proper.
Think it's worth another go?
I'm sure it'll work again. Well, we've tried this for about an hour or so. Ali's got a little trick up his sleeve. We've seen a load of fish up in the top corner. We're going to give that a go. It's a little bit dense and lots of trees overhanging, but he reckons he's got a trick up his sleeve, and apparently in his very long sleeves.
We have hatched a master plan because we've seen some fish where we were to the right along the tree line. Not really possible to get to them in any other way because there's a couple of little gaps, but really it'd be ultimately very hard to play him in those positions. So for the first time in your goalkeeping life, you're going to see the hand of God in use, but you're actually going to like it. So I'm going to show you why. Here's the hand of God.
I mean, it's the hand of Ali.
And we've already put a little bit of bait in it. So what I'm going to do is just put that down. I'm going to put a little nugget of foam on it because I don't quite know what we're going to be landing that on. It did look gravelly, didn't it, down there?
Yeah.
Just squeeze a tiny bit of foam on. I want that to come off instantly pretty much when it hits the deck. So if you just open the bail arm, David.
Yep, sorted.
Right, just going to lay that rig in. That's it. Now I'm going to start feeding it out like so. That's it. We know because your lines fall into the right of that spoon, I'm going to turn it to the right when we come to drop it.
Perfect.
All right. So we're going to get that hopefully right in there, and I reckon it's going to be at the absolute limit of this 12-metre hole. But that's what tools are there for. Right. So I'm going to push it as far as my little arms will go. So the key here, David, when you drop it, is just so tighten up slightly to it. Just make almost as if it's not too tight. You want to, close the, that's it, not too much, back there, right?
Cool.
And then as I turn it, just feel it down like you normally would, yeah? Yeah. I'm going to squeeze it in as far as it'll go. You ready?
Yep, go on then.
On three. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, nice.
Was that firm?
Yeah.
Lovely. Right, we're going to put the rod down and see what tickles Mr. Seaman. We're in our, is it fourth swim?
Fourth.
Plan D. Yeah. There's a lot of carp in this corner, and this is where this bait spoon comes into its own, because really it's almost impossible to cast the rig down there unless you've got some sort of instrument to get it down. And there's fish, we've seen them laying under the trees. They're very spooky. The spot before, they were there, and I actually watched them swim over towards the baited spot, so not the hook bait, the bait that landed before the rig, and they just turned and swam off. So we're just going for a single now, David.
Cool, that'll do.
Right, so David's going to hold his rod, run it right along there, and normally if you were casting there, you'd be stuck up the trees.
Yeah, exactly.
But with a clever little tool like this, going to be able to. That looks like it's going to be good.
Yeah. Wow, this is like so exciting because there's some big fish in there, and it's actually watching them mooch around. We've gently lowered the bait in, and now it's just a case of waiting. It's like, wow, go on, go.
I can literally see the fish down here, but it's really, really interesting the fact that I can see the hook bait. Obviously that pink almond topper is visible. It's exactly what David had the bite on earlier, but the fish just won't come onto this shallower spot, which is where the rig is. They're favouring slightly deeper water where it's almost bluish. That's where they are, and every time I introduce a couple of bits of bait, they seem to react and come over for a look. But for all the little bits of bait that are down there, not one's actually tilted down and fed on anything. So it doesn't seem to matter what colour it is, what taste it is. They're just super cautious, very wary, very pressured carp, which is why I suppose a lot of people get bites at night, but in the day they're probably sat back chilling out. The fish are there, you know, the fish are over your rigs. They're just very, very, very wary. Well, I went and crept round that back bit, and with that dead branch hanging in, literally, they're watching Match of the Day in there.
Repeats.
Yeah.
Of the double.
Yeah. So we're gonna get this rig in. We're gonna get the rig in, and where it is at the moment, it's a very shallow spot, and I've been watching the fish. They're coming over the bait, right, but they just they haven't touched a morsel of food. I've flicked in little pellets, bits of corn, chopped boilie, and they haven't responded to any of it. But they're holding up in almost like a deeper bowl. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're gonna reposition the rig. The jury's out whether we should put loads of bait in or whether we should just go nice and softly. I think softly first, and then
fill it in.
And then fill it in, get the kebab in while they're watching Match of the Day. So go on and get it in, and we'll get a new bait on it. So exciting, but yeah, I've been sat under that tree over there while David's been perched here, and literally we've watched fish after fish react to a handful of bait. So I'll forcefully throw a handful of bait in, the fish will come in and they're feeding right on top of the rig, and you know, my heart's pumping out my chest. David can't even see what's happening, but there's been a couple of occasions where I thought we should have got a bite. It looked like they're right over it. I couldn't actually see the hook bait. It's a little bit too deep, and the reflection's quite hard to, you know, it's just in the dark basically, but the fish were there. So my theory is we're going to put the almond hook bait on that he had the fish earlier, because we did change it to a yellow one, pineapple flavoured. I thought it might make a difference. It didn't. So we're going to put the almond back on, and we're going to shorten the rig, because I think the pace those fish are feeding very, very slowly, typical of when they're feeding on particles and chopped boilie and small items, but I don't really want to scatter it around. It's not a boilie fishing situation where you'll spread bait. So I want to go to a really short rig, literally going to cut the rig off, David, and just make it probably half of that length, if not a third of that length, so 3 or 4 inches, and then hopefully the next one that sucks it up feels the weight of the lead straight away, does a little kick, the running lead, you know, what goes into play, and we'll be in business. That's the plan. Whether it works, that's another matter.
See much?
Well, that's pretty crazy. As the rush hour train shoots past. Well, mate, that's unbelievable, because I can only put it down to the bait colour. It's amazing, really, because this is the same bait that we used on the last episode of Thinking Tackle, catching so many. The red colour, basically, the red almond. Now the fish are coming in, they're not even inspecting, they're just shooting away. So they're not shying away from the bait, because I've seen them come in looking like they've come to the smell, to that zone, looking like they're going to take it, like start feeding, and then they're just bolting away at such a rate of knots and just shooting up the tree line. So they obviously don't like something there. And when we had the yellow one down there, they were fine, they were feeding. So I was thinking it could have been the fact that you know, one had been spooked almost, you know, we thought it might have hooked it and then it shot away. So I think what we'll do, we'll count our losses today. One fish.
Yeah.
And
not bad.
And then we'll go to Gold Lake and see if we can tease one off the top. What do you reckon?
Yeah, that'll be all right.
Well, how about that? This is how we got it yesterday evening when we first arrived on Gold Lake. It was fantastic. They've been a little bit finickier. We did have a little play this morning before we went onto the actual blue pool. So the plan now is to have a little dabble on the top. The rigs are all done. We'll probably look at them a little bit later on, because as you can imagine, we're dying to get a rig out. We're going to cast past the fish and just draw the rig back. We're going to be a bit greedy. We'll both put a rod out. How's that?
Don't mind that.
Yeah, good, good. All right.
Doubling our chances.
So I'll just flick one along.
Go on in.
And then just tease it back hopefully. Try not to hook a cameraman on the way back. That's lovely.
You right?
Yeah. That maybe. Oh, that's lovely, mate. Oh yeah, leave it there for a bit. There's a couple feeding up the back there as well. See if you get one of them. We hooked more long yesterday. Yeah. Like almost like the ones that are. I didn't hook anything really close. Watch the float. Yeah. Like watch the float move and then just lean into it. Yeah. I don't ever strike when I see him take the hook bait, because I think you can be a bit premature. Cool. I just let him have a breath and then nail them. You're in. Yes! Oh, that'll do something, won't it? Do you see what I mean? Yeah. Wait for the float. Yeah, it's like a delay, isn't it? They almost don't know they're.
Wow. God, feels different on barbel rods, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? You know, light setup.
Yeah.
But those lips just come up. They love that. You see, well, I showed you in the studio that time, didn't I? Tight lines about the sort of raspberry fluid coming off it. Yeah. I think they just take it a bit more confident, you know, where it almost masks the hook. Come on. Lovely looking. Oh, it's a very clean, fresh looking fella, that one. Here we go. Go on, son. Come to pop up a little bit more. And we're in. Yes. Mate. Quality. Oh yeah, look at that. There's a dumpy one, mate, isn't it?
Isn't it?
It's been on the old kebabs. Yeah. Yeah. The delay.
That's the same, isn't it? Yeah, just like wait a bit and then just see the float
like
go.
pike fishing, wait for them to turn the bait. Well, it was just too good to photograph yours straight away, wasn't it?
I know, you was only getting jealous, weren't you?
I know, mate. I had to get a rig straight back out there. Oh, it seems like an age though. When they're like that, sometimes you get like a comedy of errors. Like one fish is getting away with it, and then you've got it in the wrong spot, and you know it's mad, really. All right, here we go. Come on, mate. There we are. There we go.
Love it.
Love it. No clean sheet for me, son.
Don't know whether I like this. 2 in the net. Hey, that's not a bad fish, mate.
Yeah, lovely old everything, yeah. Well, how about that then?
That's not bad, is it?
Let's get them up.
1 each.
You caught the bigger one.
Oh, still haven't caught it yet.
Yeah, you can't pick it up, can you? First time people have said that about you. But how about this?
Oh my God. I need my proper gloves
your
on.
fish, Seaman.
I've not got my gloves on, that's what's... Wow.
Look at that. Big old chunk. Do you reckon how big do you reckon that is?
I don't know, that's...
18?
Yeah. 19?
I
feels
reckon
heavy.
mine's about 16, but I tell you what, when you're catching them off the surface after a long, hard day stalking.
Yeah, that was hard.
Yeah.
But, you know, you're going for big fish, so it's... And you see them as well, so it adds to the excitement, so you enjoy it more.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been a day of watching carp. It's been a day of observing how they react to different baits and rigs. We've learnt a lot. We've had enough of the cameras being here. We're going to have a bit of fun on the surface, all to ourselves. Well, Mr. Keeney is in again. So talk me through it. How many years was it since you've done your last night?
It's probably about 8 years, mate. So,
8?
Yeah. If I fall asleep today on the bank, you'll know why.
Because he has been bent into carp pretty much from when we were floating fishing yesterday evening, right through the night. Keen as mustard, weren't you, mate?
Oh,
Loving
God,
it.
Yeah. And then I'd had enough.
Yeah.
then I had to bring him in.
Coming out, yeah. They love those trees, don't they, mate, down there?
Just a bit.
And you've just been fishing in close, haven't you, David?
Just underarm flick, just out there, probably about 2 rod lengths out.
Insert margins.
Insert margins, lad.
Yeah. And been putting much bait out?
No, just probably an handful over every cast.
Really? So
Yeah.
Just sort of tapping into the fact that these fish are like steaming around looking for food.
Yeah.
Springtime.
Spreading it out a bit and.
Oh, and look, that's the rig you've been using on Blue Pool as well. That running rig, so works for every size of fish. Here we go. Ah, lovely,
Yes,
mate. Brilliant.
Nice one. Wow, another one bites the dust.
Yeah. Superb stuff. Well, what an awesome night's action, capped with this now just a little while ago. How many do you think you had?
I think I had about 4 or 5 in the night. It got so busy that I had to actually wind the rods in and get some sleep. But I had a 22 mirror, you know, so it was good stuff. Good
Another
fun.
common, you just slipped back?
The common I just slipped back, got this one just a bit afterwards, but really hectic stuff. You know, I haven't night fished for what, years?
8 years, I think you told me.
Something like that, but it's just welcome back.
You still had the ponytail back then, I reckon, when you did your last night. Now, I know through your sporting life you had loads of conflicts, you know, the Man United Arsenal days of when it was nip and tuck. You were having a bit of that on Blue Pool yesterday.
Yeah, there's a challenge over there that needs to be sorted out. There's some big fish over there. Yesterday was frustrating but really exciting as well, knowing that them, you know, the big fish are in there, close to the bait, but you know, still sussing me out. So let battle commence.
Brilliant stuff. There we go. Right, time to put a little bit of bait in on the Blue Pool. The great thing about this venue and, you know, being able to book it all to yourselves and everything else as a group is you can go around and get some little spots prime, because these fish have seen it all. They are under a lot of pressure. So if you can give them a bit of a free meal, especially when you're trying to catch them in the edge, when they feel totally on edge, then that's a great thing. Get a bit of bait in, get them confident. So I'll tell you what we're putting out, because I mean, we've not really looked at it yet. Now, just have a look there. That's the old Hamidi buffet theory, as I like to call it. So what I do, bit of hemp in there, bit of chilli and salty hemp first, about half a pint. Then I put some sweet corn on top of that. Also introduce some ellipse pellets. They're slightly larger ones, because what I don't like is to introduce too many small pellets, because the carp can become very easily preoccupied on that. Then we've got some hybrid boilies. We've got some halves in there first, so I just put them through the cutter, just get them in half, and then also some crushed up, and then some whole baits as well. So we've got all different sizes in there, all different attractions, and I like to add a little bit of corn goo into that as well, and just get that blended in, get a bit of taste in there as well, and that just gives a little bit of a haze of cloud, of water, taste, and everything else that's going to be in there, and really add something to the swim. So that seems to get them interested quite quickly. So this is one of the spots. I'm going to have to don the old shades the polarising filtered glasses now, so I can make sure I'm not putting it on top of any fish that might be cruising in the edge. And literally just a scoopful here, just to get them interested really. And I'm going to go into slightly deeper water. We had been putting it closer to the bank, but I can look, some of the bait we put out yesterday, that's all gone now. So the fish have obviously fed on it throughout the night. We haven't been fishing here at night, so they really should be building up in a bit more confidence along these different spots. So in this goes, just a little scoopful. Swan will get some of it, but the carp will hopefully get more of it themselves. So that's one spot done. Time to go and do a couple more. Right then, we're about to get the rig back in the corner. Me and David have been round there. Very exciting, isn't it?
Oh my God, yeah. There's like so many fish in there,
Yeah.
big ones and all.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, come on, hurry up.
Exactly. So we've learned a little bit from what we saw. You can only predict what you think was happening yesterday, but we've actually taken off the hook bait that we caught the fish on, you know, yesterday, that pink almond one. And it just goes to show, if the colour isn't right, you know, it doesn't matter how good something tastes. If the fish are alarmed by what they see, they're just not going to take it.
No, because you put a yellow one in and you said that they were far more confident.
Yeah.
They were swimming around more and dipping down and taking bait.
Yeah.
But as soon as the red or pink,
we put the red back. Yeah, we put
Yeah.
the red pinky back on, and the idea behind that was, I suppose, the fish were coming in the swim, and I thought, why aren't they going straight for the hook bait? Because the whole idea of a high attract is that they'll dive down on the hook bait. They didn't, so probably the more subtle. I mean, look at that yellow. Even though it's had this sort of pineapple stuff dried onto it, right? So it's adhered to it, it's sucked into it, so it actually makes it quite a dull. You know, it's almost like a brownie yellow. And this hybrid boilie underneath soaked in the same attractors, so this will peter out quite slowly, but it's going to let off a greenish vapour rather than the red one. And another thing we did, that's the wrong one. Here we go. we added some more, and they weren't alarmed by that. They were straight in on these attractors. And even though this is quite bright when you put this on, it's going to look very brown. But in the water, this goes. It's going to peter off a greeny smoke, but that sort of signifies the taste that's being let off into the water, the smell, the attraction. And the fish seem to home in on this one under there.
Well, that's what you were saying, weren't it?
Yeah.
You were saying there was like 8 fish there, and
they were straight in on it.
And we had a little tap, but you know, it wasn't happening.
This is just going to top it off with a slightly thinner one that will just let off a bit more colour and taste.
And are these totally different flavours to the red stuff?
Yeah. That's tutti fruity.
Yeah.
And a bit of caramel over the top as well. So we've got like a chocolatey fruit, I don't know, however you want to call it. But you'll also notice here, look, that rig is now really short. So we've got the anti-tangle sleeve, and then what would you give me there? 3 inches to the hook. Yeah. And then the same semi-fixed runner, really. It's just on that swivel, and then it will pull away, and we'll be on a running rig. So I think that's a great setup for wily carp.
Well, this is the setup that I used like last night. Yeah. And I had quite a few fish on it as well, so.
And you were getting really confident bites, weren't you?
Full
rippers.
Full blown rippers.
Yeah, getting the Yorkshireman out of his pit, never a good thing. Right then, are you ready?
I can't wait, mate. So
cool.
excited. I'm not lucky, but I am.
That's in. Right, let battle commence.
So here we are, second attempt. We've been round the back and we've seen lots of fish, some big ones as well. So if it goes, when it goes, all hell's going to break loose, because I've had to tighten the clutch right down because I don't want that fish getting any line whatsoever. So as you can see, there's loads of snags under there. There's branches hanging down. You know, so you just got to stop it. You can't give it any line whatsoever, otherwise it'll snag us up and we'll have lost it. But when I went round, the fish that I saw were just amazing. It's so clear, and the bottom of the bed is all gravel, so clean. We can actually see the hook bait on the bottom, and Ali's just trickling baits over the top of it. So Hopefully he'll shout strike before the fish gets any time to get in them snags.
I think that's on your hook bait. Oh.
I've just had a slight knock on the rod. Ali's saying it's black with fish down there, so hopefully it's any time now.
Turn, turn, turn. This is it. Ah. Holy bejesus. Oh, they are all over you like a dirty old rash. Oh, did you get a twitch?
No. Yep.
Yep, you're in. There you go. Oh, man. Oh, God. Go on, Seaman. There's only one David Seaman. There's only one David Seaman. Oh, mate, how exciting was that?
I know.
You know, I spoke to you, I walked back and they were all there again. That's a nice fish,
right,
mate.
Leave it alone.
Yeah, you've done the hard bit. Because the good thing is, them snags, they're undercut, so you...
Oh, so it's not as bad
No,
as...
no, no, no. As long as you get that rod tip down like you did,
Yeah.
you've done it perfectly, mate. Like an absolute pro. Not bad at this fishing, like, are you? Hey?
I like catching stuff, mate.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Balls, carp, it doesn't matter, does it?
It's been a long while.
Yeah. Well, I think this will be the... This is not a football-shaped thing.
No.
Slow, innit?
Yeah.
Big fish that way. A good fish, mate. It was a nice fish. That was one of the better ones down there.
Was it? Yeah.
And normally it's sod's law, you hook the smaller one, didn't you?
Yeah.
Because the little one spooked. Obviously his mate had just got nailed.
Yeah.
But that's good, because that's the first one I thought took it. And that speaks volumes for the rig, doesn't it? We made changes and it's got a bite. That is what you dream of. When you do the tinkering and you get a bite, that's wicked.
This is a strong fish.
Yeah. Quality, mate. That's a real bit of teamwork, that was.
Oh.
Let's do the... Please, please, please.
I know.
Nervous?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well, just nervous that you don't want it to come off, because I know it's a good fish. It took us so long to get a take out of there.
Not as nervous as when you saw that ball sailing over your head after Ronaldinho whacked it.
Exactly, yeah. Will you shut up? I'm enjoying it now. Do you want to swim?
I thought I'd time that one.
Somebody brought a towel for Ali. You're going to need it in a minute. Just when I'm half volleying into the lake.
Oh, quality, mate.
Yeah.
Slowing it, real.
Don't say that, because his leg pings
Oh, no.
off.
I'll just get my towel at the ready. You can't beat that sort of fishing though, can you?
No.
That's as exciting as it
yeah.
gets. That's proper fishing, in it. You know, watching them.
Watching the tape must be ace.
Like, you just saw it. I was like, they're on it. They're all over it. This is it. This is the moment. If it don't get one now, we've got to redo something. He's a plodder. I'll put my shades on so I can see him better. Give you more commentary.
Come on.
Oh, yeah.
That's good fish, isn't it?
Yeah, that'll do us, mate. That'll do us. We've been on a bit of a run of 30s the last few shows. So...
There is, like you said, there's luck in it, isn't there? Because
you don't know what's going to pick your bait up, do you?
We saw quite a few different sizes under that tree.
But sometimes the bigger ones are the greedier ones. And you want them to be, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, it's off.
Oh, no. No. Line snapped.
Man. Mm.
Oh, no. No.
That was a good fish and all.
That's a killer. Should I get my towel?
Damn it.
Can't even really say anything.
Yeah.
Kick in the nuts. Well, we've just pulled the rod out of that corner spot. The fish haven't been in there for a good while now. However, they have been showing out there in the middle. So we've both put a rod on top of them. Whilst we're doing that, we're going to sit back and chill, because having the great Mr. Seaman next to us, it would be rude not to delve into some of that carp fishing history of his. Now, David, you've been carp fishing longer than me, but exactly how long have you been doing it?
Well, I started when I was about 11 that I went fishing. I can remember going and getting my rod straightened out, and I thought I had to point the rod at the fish to get it in.
Flat rodded like that?
Anyway, it came off, and then I started going to a lake in Birmingham. I think it was called either Summers Lake or something like that. Caught a few fish there, and then went to Cuttle Mill, but only on the Max Lake.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Caught like 2 or 3 carp of about £3, and I was like, oh my God, what are they that's pulling that hard? Hooked a bigger one that just went off, and I was like, I've got to try and catch them big ones.
Your real carp fishing, your first proper taste of it, started quite late.
Quite late, yeah. You know, I went to Birmingham, and then it was when I went to QPR that I started fishing at Farlow's.
You were in carp fishing Mecca by then, weren't you?
Yeah, and it was just like, it was down the bottom of the farmer's field. I used to walk under the motorway, and I was there. You know, so it was right on my doorstep. But you know, I was still very naive about it all, and you know, didn't really know exactly what I was doing. Then I got chatting to a guy, and he introduced me like to fish meals and nod oil and all that sort of stuff, and I was like, what's all this? And he's like, wow, it stinks. And you know, but it worked. You know, he was making these baits and we were putting them out, and it was working. And then I actually made my first ever boilie at home, peanut flavour, and it caught my first ever 20.
Now, what do you think it was that gripped you so much? Because it's such a contrast to the sort of hustle and bustle of the football pitch, really. You know, you're out there, there's banter in the changing room, you're training ground every day. I mean, I bet old Bob Wilson didn't enjoy you being out night fishing, did he?
No, that's what a lot of the lads used to say to me. You know, they're like, you're so sad because you say you're going night fishing and you actually go night fishing.
Yeah.
You know, we all said that we're going fishing with you.
What, as a decoy?
Yeah, exactly.
You had to go clubbing or something in the city.
But yeah, what got me into it mostly was I used to play golf. Well, I still play golf, but I used to play a lot of golf. When I went onto the course, sometimes I'd walk off it more frustrated than anything else. So I wanted to start the fishing. The fishing was relaxing. I'd get out there, and even if I didn't catch, it was still a great afternoon. You know, so that's why I got right into my fishing.
Well, as you can see, this man is totally in love with fishing of all sorts. So we're going to sit back, chew the fat a little longer, and hopefully one of these 2 rods might tickle off in the not too distant future. Well, what better way to finish a chat talking to you about your carp fishing and getting one myself?
Exactly. I nearly pulled your rod in.
I know, mate. We were, really. Where's it going?
Wow.
Just shows, doesn't it? We've been sort of playing around, and then we've flicked these single hook baits out to where they've been showing, which is what Tom Dove and I did in a recent shoot, where we were just casting into deep water and turn this thing. Yeah, we
Shall I bring this one in?
He's all right. They're powerful fish, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it's the same, exactly the same rig that you know, we've been using for David's stalking. Just a slightly different lead system, basically the one that I had on one of my rods that was set up. So I was probably lazy, if you like. But similar principle to an inline lead.
Wow, it's going now, isn't it?
Yeah, we got him out the worst of it though. Don't speak too soon.
I was going to say.
I know, mate, yeah.
Scars have not healed yet.
Yeah, yeah. We're still licking those wounds, mate, aren't we?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Just watch them.
Might get the scales out on this one, if we can get him in. Get it in the net, Seaman.
There it is. Well done, mate.
Quality, mate. Thanks a lot. Brilliant.
Cool.
Cheers, mate.
Nice one, mate.
Well, this is what the blue pool is famed for. Jet black mirror carp like this one, £26. What a battle, eh, David?
It was, wasn't it? It took us all over the place.
But we are really made up with it because it was a bite out of the blue, I suppose. Has it whet your appetite though for another one?
It was already wet, mate, but it just makes me think, like, Wow, how big was that one we lost?
I know, mate, that's exactly what I was thinking. We're going to get this one back and we're going to keep on with our Blue Pool Crusade. Well, good morning. Guess where we are? We're back in the John Motson commentary box. David's in the hot seat, as he's always been throughout his career. And we fished last night. Well, David fished. I chose to have a good rest. I'm just watching fish cruising over the spot. We got back in here nice and early. I put a lot of bait down just to get more confident on the spot. You know, we had 2 very good chances off here yesterday. And there's not long to go now, and we really would love to nail one and land one off this spot. David's absolutely raring to go. I'm really excited. So it's definitely penalty shootout time. Whether the England man wins is another matter.
Ali's been great on this session. He's taught me a lot of stuff, and you know, rigs, about baiting situations. You know, he's a great team member, and you know, hopefully teamwork is going to pay off.
You're in, mate. You're in.
Left or right?
Right hand rod. You're in.
I am as well. Ali, get that other rod.
Yeah, don't worry,
please.
Mate. That's that.
He's out.
Yeah. You know, I thought I could see him, didn't I? You know what? I'll tell you exactly what we're about to do. We were about to have a chat about the trials and tribulations of this session, and
right, let me concentrate.
Yeah, you concentrate. I just lost the fish myself about 10 minutes ago. Rod was on the floor, the old tip knock, pulled up into it, it was on, it kited left, felt it go for a snag, and that's a lovely fish. Let's get this out of the way.
Well, then,
and
the net.
Don't worry, mate, I'll get that net. Hang tight. Oh, nerves. We've added a safe zone leader as well to take into account the cut-off, just to give that line a bit more protection above the hook link. Just an addition. The rig's working exactly the same as a little running shocker style rig. Come on. But for all intents and purposes, it's the same setup, and a rig that I do believe has worked quite well here. When the fish have been on us, we've had quick bites, and they haven't been under that little tree for a good while, and I think they've just moved back in. Get in the back of the net!
Yes, Ali!
Yes! That's it! Get in there, my son.
Safe to say, that was caught in extra time, mate.
Oh, mate, we said it was penalties.
Oh, my God.
And for once, an England goalie has come out triumphant.
Yeah, I just hope it was a German fish.
Yes!
Get in.
Well, I've got a couple of cheesy lines for you, right? Firstly, you're good at dealing with corners.
Yeah.
You've dealt with another. But this is the first time probably in your whole career that you've scored a last-minute winner.
I know, exactly. Oh, my God, it was just... It's ace.
How big is it, though? Tell us, come on.
It's 30 pound 7, mate. That's awesome.
Well, £30, 8 ounces, £30 and a half. Unbelievable. Like, the run of 30 pounders on Thinking Tackle continues. You couldn't have scripted it, could you?
No, not at all. I've never been so nervous playing a fish in my life. You know, after losing the other big one, and then seeing this going like the same way where we lost the big one, I was like, oh my God, please don't come off, please don't come off. And we slid the net under, and it's just, wow, look at it.
Have you enjoyed yourself? Because you look like you have.
I've got a big, massive cheesy grin, mate, but it's been awesome. But we've been a good team. We've done
a bit of everything,
of everything, floater fishing, you know, runs on bleepers and stuff, but to crack that corner was just ace.
I just can't believe it. Well, I'm speechless. I mean, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for in this episode of Thinking Tackle. From the legend that is David Seaman and Hamidi, thank you very much for watching, and see you on the bank sometime.